we're diving into our brand new OSHA 30-hour construction training study guide. Imagine OSHA as a superhero whose superpower is keeping workplaces safe. Now let's explore Module 1. It consists of 3 insightful lessons. Here is how you can report any violation. Hello learners, welcome back to the OSHA 30 Construction Study Guide, Module 2. But before we jump in, let's test your knowledge. Why do we record work-related injuries and illnesses? Is it to point fingers or assign blame? Take a guess and leave your answer in the comments. Alright, let's ensure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you never miss a safety lesson. Today, we're tackling Module 2, Record Keeping. This module covers OSHA Standard 29 CFR 1904. Record keeping might sound like paperwork drudgery, but listen up, it is like having a safety mirror on your construction site. Now, here's a breakdown into 5 chapters. Now let's get started with Chapter 1. What's the point of record keeping? Think of record keeping like a toolbox for safety. It helps us identify trends, understand what's causing injuries, and take steps to prevent them from happening again. It's not about fault, it's about keeping everyone healthy and safe on the job. For example, if there are a lot of back injuries, they can investigate lifting techniques and equipment to prevent future strains. The biggest advantage is fewer injuries mean less money spent on medical bills and lost work time. Record keeping helps companies track these costs and identify areas for improvement. Now here's the catch. Not all companies need to keep records. Smaller companies, usually with 10 or fewer employees, and certain industries with lower risks might be exempt. However, if you're unsure, it's always best to check with OSHA or your local safety representative. Now, let's test your knowledge with some quick questions. Great! Now on to Chapter 2, when's a case is a new case. Let's say John twists his ankle on the job. It heals up, but a few months later he twists it again. Is that a new injury? You got it. Anytime an old injury flares up because of work, it's a new case that needs recording. Now on to Chapter 3, what injuries need recording? Basically, any fatality, injury or illness that's serious enough to require more than a quick band-aid needs to be recorded. Here's what we need to track. The following criteria apply to days away cases. If you miss 1 or more days because of a work-related ouch, that's a recordable case. We gotta check the days away box on the form and write down the exact number of calendar days you couldn't work. Don't count the day you got hurt, though. Weekends, holidays, even vacations, they all count as days away if you can't work because of the injury. Now, there's a limit. We can only track days away for up to 180 days, that's 6 months. And if the doctor says you need more time to heal, we gotta follow their orders, even if it's past the 180 days, because their words are golden. Restricted work activity is. Think of it like this. If a key part of your job is lifting heavy objects, but your doctor says no lifting for a while, that's restricted activity. It also applies if you can't work your full shift because of the injury. Maybe you usually work 10 hours, but now you can only handle 6. If a doctor or licensed healthcare pro says you need limitations at work, that's what we do. Their call is the final call. Let's talk about job transfers. A transfer to another job counts the same as days away from work. But here's the good news. Once the transfer becomes permanent, we stop counting days away. Let's talk about what counts as medical treatment for record keeping. Medical treatment is the big stuff, the care you get from a doctor or healthcare pro to fight off an illness or injury. Now, here's what doesn't count. Stopping by the clinic for a quick checkup or some counseling. Same goes for tests like X-rays or blood draws. Even minor stuff like draining a blister or putting on an eye patch. Same for removing splinters or using tweezers. Now, loss of consciousness. Even a short blackout, if it's work-related, needs to be documented. Next, we gotta keep track of sharp surprises, needle sticks and cuts from anything potentially contaminated that goes in the records. We gotta be extra careful with those. And finally, let's talk about your hearing. It's one of those things you don't always think about, but loud noises on the job site can damage it over time. If that happens, we record it to make sure everyone's ears are protected. Now let's answer some questions. Excellent. Now Chapter 4 is all about the forms. Imagine filling out a report card for your injuries. That's kind of what OSHA forms are like. Companies need to fill these out within a week of learning about a serious injury. There's even a privacy option so your personal information stays confidential. Here's a breakdown of the forms. OSHA 300 log. This is the main record-keeping form. It tracks all recordable work-related injuries and illnesses. OSHA 300 a summary. This is an annual summary of the OSHA 300 log that needs to be posted in a visible location at the workplace for all employees to see. OSHA 301 incident report. This form is used to report specific details about each recordable injury or illness. Privacy matters. We don't want to expose anyone's personal information, so employee names never go on the Form 300 itself. Instead, we use a separate, confidential list to keep track of who's who. Here are privacy concerns cases. Now, let's test your knowledge. Perfect. Now in final chapter, how to report fatality or catastrophe. This is a serious one because we're talking about fatalities and major incidents on the job site. Here's what you need to know. If the worst happens and someone is tragically killed, or there are 3 or more employees needing hospitalization, time is critical. You need to report this to OSHA within 8 hours. That's right, 8 hours, no exceptions. You also need to report it to the nearest Department of Labor. Here's the thing, you report all work-related deaths, even heart attacks. But there's a catch, accidents outside the work zone don't count. So, car crashes on the highway or mishaps on public transportation, those are out of our scope. Same goes for commercial airplane, train, subway, or bus accidents. Now, when you report, you have to give OSHA all the facts. One last thing, if a government official, like someone from the Department of Labor or Health and Human Services, asks for copies of your records, you gotta provide them within 4 business hours. Let's answer this question to solidify this concept. Record keeping is a vital part of keeping construction sites safe. Here are some reminders to keep in your toolbox. Companies are required to post a yearly summary of recordable injuries for everyone to see. Keep copies of injury reports, they might be helpful later. There are some privacy rules to follow when recording injuries. Smaller companies in certain industries might be exempt from record keeping, but staying safe is always a good idea. So got any questions? Leave them in the comments below, and we'll be happy to help. Stay tuned for Module 3, where we'll tackle a whole new set of safety challenges. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OSHA Outreach courses.